In studio with me, former Governor Doug Ducey. Thanks
Good to be back with you, Mike.
So how much do you like that title, former governor? How much are you enjoying that?
Former's been fun. It's been fun, and the time flew when I was in office, and it's hard to believe it's almost 3 years since I left office.
Well, we had mentioned when we were talking, I was talking with somebody about you coming on the show and said, man, I haven't really heard much from him since he's been gone. Was that kind of intentional to step away from the office and then get away from the cameras for a while?
Well, yes. When you're in public life, you have a public responsibility. When I stepped out of public life, I didn't seek that role.
Well, let's talk about the state of things, because now you have the experience of being a governor. You've been the chief executive, so you have a different perspective of the things that are happening now. So when you look at the shutdown nationally and how it affects the state of Arizona, and what the governor did with SNAP and what could have been done, do you look at those things and think, I would have done something differently? If it were me, I would have done this? Is there any of that?
Well, in this state, I look at a lot of things that are being done now and think I would have done it differently.
Yeah, and did do it differently.
And well, listen, Washington, D.C.'s been a mess for a long time. It continues to be a mess. There's not a lot of leadership in either body of Congress right now, and you're seeing a lot of games being played, and they're at people's expense.
Especially when you look at Arizona, one of the things we talked about, Sierra Vista, 20% of the population in Sierra Vista works at Fort Huachuca. All of their civilian employees, many of them are veterans, furloughed, military not getting paid. What it does to the defense contractors, and I know I'm preaching to the choir with you because you were so business centric, the damage to the Arizona economy with well over $1 billion in lost revenue we're never going to get back. How do you recover from that? Well,
I was at a Veterans Day event yesterday. Was asked to speak, and it really hit me when you're around these veterans, these guys that have served, and I mean, they have such great stories, and this individual had been injured 18 times, 4 tours in Vietnam, Congressional Medal of Honor. I think you have to start with focusing on the people at Fort Huachuca. And yes, they are enlisted and they are serving, but they have families, and oftentimes they are living paycheck to paycheck, especially if they're, single income, married with the family. And I think so much of that is lost on DC and a lot of these fights. And listen, I was always up for a good political battle,
right,
for an idea I believed in, but we could define what success looked like and what victory looked like. And I don't think either side right now has a clear definition of what that is. The Democrats certainly don't, because they surrendered after how many weeks of a shutdown?
Yeah, 41 days. Yeah, got nothing. But when it comes to because part of what you have to do is respond and react. When something like this happens, you can't control it. You have no control over what Washington, D.C. does. But when a shutdown like this happens, when SNAP benefits are suspended in Arizona, you have to react in what you're legally able to do. What should we do as a state when this happens? Do you have a plan?
Well, I do think you are able to act if you are the governor. Now, if you're the former governor, there's not much you can do, but you can influence the national discussion. If you're the governor, you can have conversations with the White House. You do have access to our state budget and to our rainy day fund, which we stuffed full of dollars. Now, I don't think you should be spending state dollars on federal responsibilities, and I was very fiscally conservative and financially responsible and left the state in that stead. But at the same time, I never wanted to ever pull the rug out from underneath anyone. And I do think when you make a commitment to the public, you need to keep it.
So another focus of your administration was the Red for Ed movement and the 20% raise for teachers over 3 years,
yes,
which you navigated. I thought you did a brilliant job of navigating that to make that happen. But now we're in a situation where we're seeing 4,000 teacher openings. 1,000 have quit just since since July, have left the profession. When you see this, what needs to happen to get that fixed?
Listen, I'm on the side of the teacher. Great teachers have made a huge difference in my life. We have great teachers in our public school system. We just don't have enough of them. And Mike, people that are our age came out of school and thought, I want to be a teacher. It wasn't about the money. Of course, money's important. They have bills to pay, but they wanted to be a teacher, and they went on and got in the classroom, and they coached football or, taught history or math and coached sports after school. Well, now that's not happening. We set up the Arizona Teachers Academy while I was in office. So we would fund your education. You'd come out debt-free. If you gave 5 years to an Arizona public school, your tuition was paid for. We need to find a way to focus on getting good young people into teaching. Teach for America does a good job at this. They steal a lot of people from Google and Microsoft and Palantir that want to go into the toughest settings and toughest situations. And I'm not someone who thinks money is always the issue. But on this one, if we want professional, excellent teachers, we need to compensate them. So I think of this much like firefighters. When I was a kid, my dad was a cop, and a lot of the firefighters were volunteer at the time. And it was cops. All the great television shows were about cops, and cops were held in very high regard. Well, the firefighters got organized. I mean, look at the number of firehouses. Look at how these guys are thought of. Professional careers, very competitive to get into that. I think we need to take some of that model to both the law enforcement for our police officers and for our teachers.
Yeah, that's a very clever idea. Last question for this segment is about our governor's race. There are now 3 Republicans, prominent Republicans in the primary. Any of them reach out to you? Do people ask you ahead of time when they're going to run? Do they ask for maybe not your endorsement necessarily, but advice on how you run a campaign?
They've all reached out. I imagine I'll have conversations over the course of time. You know, I think it's early, Mike. When I ran for governor in 2014, I didn't kick off till March of next year.
And there were 9 people in that primary.
Of next year. So these campaigns, unfortunately, have become basically 2-year campaigns. It seems like presidential campaigns are always ongoing at 4 years. So I'll speak out a little bit more on this as we get to next year. And I think the public's focus sees, okay, we've got a governor's race. What do we think of the current governor, and who would be a better alternative?
All right. When we come back, I'm going to talk with you about the Center for the Citizens for Free Enterprise.
You got it.
I can't wait to talk about this. All right. We got one more segment with the former governor. Stick around. Governor Ducey's here with us. It's so funny because we've known each other for a long time, since before you were treasurer.
Yes.
And
I think in 2008 or something.
When I saw you at the Goldwater dinner, I said, "Hey, Gov," and someone, did you just call him Gov? And I said, "Well, he calls me Broomy." And so I guess we're okay to be nicknamed, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So what did they call you in the Thunderbirds? Are you allowed to say that? Can you repeat that?
Well, Deuce.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. You know, it's a nickname. Yeah. High school.
Yeah, because I know a few of the guys, and none of them are called by their real name.
Yeah.
And it's usually complimentary. It's nothing, horrible.
Oh, no, it's just fine.
So let's talk about the Citizens for Free Enterprise. I know this is a project you've been working on, and you've been leading this organization for a while. It sounds pretty self-explanatory, but what are you working on?
Well, we educate and advocate for free enterprise. It really concerns us that if you held up a placard in a college classroom today that said socialism and capitalism, it's about a 50-50 proposition. So we want people to understand free enterprise and the bounty and what it's provided our country, how it's differentiated us and given us a material prosperity and quality of life like nowhere else in the world. We also are registering voters. So we're headquartered here in Arizona. Much of my former top tier team is working with me here. We're at 24th and Camelback. We've got field offices in Arizona and Georgia. We've just opened to Wisconsin. We'll be coming to a swing state near you soon. And it really makes a difference. I mean, elections are about getting the right candidate and leaders in office, holding them accountable to the proper principles. We don't talk enough about free enterprise and free market capitalism, and we want to bring that to the fore.
And this kind of follows in follows in the footsteps of what you did as governor, because it was the flattening of our tax base. Didn't get to zero, but pretty close.
Lowest flat tax in the country.
But also the reduction in regulation. Was it over 3,000?
I think 3,300 regulations, which are invisible taxes. Took us about a year and a half to get our arms around how many regulations does Arizona have. We were able to eliminate 3,300. It's the equivalent of a $180 million tax cut annually without costing the general fund $1. So other governors have followed suit. And I do think that focus, I mean, every decision you make as a lawmaker is going to affect the economy. That's something Thomas Sowell says in the beginning of his book, Basic Economics. He may not know much about botany or brain surgery, but what you do is going to affect the economy.
Well, this headline, Texas cements business-friendly reputation after locking in tax bans. Texas is a state we compete with to get industry and business here. Nevada, Florida. How important are those policies of low taxation and low regulation when big industry is looking for a place?
They're critical. They're the whole deal. One thing we have in spades is quality of life. This place is beautiful, and 8 months a year, it's paradise. And when it's not, you can go to Flagstaff, the White Mountains, or even do an economic trade mission to California.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it's about tax policy, regulatory policy, energy policy, labor policy, and education. And those were the things we focused on for the 8 years I was there.
Is Arizona, for the most part, are we still on that pathway? Are we on that track still?
We have incredible economic momentum. Sandra Watson is the best commerce secretary in the nation. Our pipeline is full of big projects. TSMC will change the state generationally for decades. So that's all good, but we want to maintain a place that's wonderful to live. And listen, I know growth has two sides, and some of the NIMBY things to me have been concerning. So we have to have responsible growth. That means investment in infrastructure, energy, education. But I do think we can stay in that position. But elections have consequences. If somebody's running on raising your taxes, increasing regulations, that could stunt our economic momentum.
Yeah, I understand when people say, I don't like to see hungry people. We all say that. But when you say, I don't like to see hungry people while someone else is successful, punishing success is never a plan we should go with.
We don't want to punish success, of course. I think we should celebrate it. And often when we see this rise in homelessness, we're talking about addiction, alcoholism, mental health issues, and we need to address it. It's rather new when you do have growth. I would also point to the cost of housing, rents, and mortgages. All of this combined and the growth of our great city affects this. But it's all things that we can deal with in public policy, with the church and faith community, and the private sector.
Always appreciate the time. It's great to catch up.
You as well.
That's former Governor Ducey.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch and listen to the new season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.